Member from Cambridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Premier. Premier, your party is showing two polar opposite approaches to your gas plant scandal. While the Premier publicly states her willingness for openness and transparency, she sends out her minions to carry out attacks on opposition members, energy experts, and anyone who's looking into the bottom of the $828 million gas plant scandal. The facts are clear. The $40 million number is simply, for Oakville, is a fairy tale. It has been discredited. Yet her Liberal Party henchmen have no time for facts, openness, or transparency when you, Premier, feel their time is better spent launching mean-spirited and vindictive attacks on Ontarians. So, Premier, you're either saying one thing in public and another thing behind closed doors, or you've lost all control of your caucus who continue to resort to attacks on Ontarians who seek the truth. So which is it, Premier?
Thank you. Here.
Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, let's have a little bit of transparency from the opposition. First, Mr. Speaker, they promised to cancel the gas plant, and then when we fulfilled their promise, they called it a scandal. Then the member said that a judicial inquiry was too expensive, and the member from Nipissing held a press conference calling for it. Mr. Speaker, then we came forward with the idea of a select committee, and instead they went after a mean-spirited, vengeful motion against a former member of this legislature. Then, Mr. Speaker, we went in front of that committee and we offered to provide them with all government documents related to the gas plant, far beyond anything that they had asked. And you know what, Mr. Speaker, to the shock of myself and I think everyone on this side of the legislature, they stood or they didn't stand, Mr. Speaker, they raised their hands and voted against it. Mr. Speaker, in terms of transparency, I think the opposition has some explaining to do.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think the government House Leader fails to remember that he decided to build the plant. It takes a decision to build the plant before a decision to cancel it, Mr. Speaker. Premier, the canceled plant will cost 15 times more than your government had originally stated, and you're sticking to that number, which is completely inexcusable. If I ran a business and told my customers that their product at checkout would be 15 times more than the price tag, I wouldn't be in business for very long. But this government instead refuses to accept the fact that this $828 million figure means their reason for hiding the truth is open to the public. They prorogued because of this cost. They failed to release documents because of this cost. They threw their energy minister to the wolves because of this cost, Mr. Speaker. The government is intent on standing by this expensive, insulting charade at any cost. So, Premier, will you finally admit the reason for your government's decision to obstruct the work of this House is because you're trying to cover up the true costs of a politically motivated decision?
The member will withdraw.
I withdraw, Mr. Speaker.
Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I can just read into the record again a quote from Mr. Bruce Sharp, the witness that the member referenced, and I quote what he told the Financial Post. The situation begs for these numbers.
Stop the clock. The member from Leeds Grenville is on the edge, and I would expect him to treat all members honorably in this House. Carry on.
Mr. Speaker, he said, the situation begs for these numbers to be confirmed and publicized. I can think of no better provider of this service than Ontario Auditor General Jim McCarter and his staff. But, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about some of the other witnesses in front of the committee, like former House Speaker Peter Milliken. Perhaps the honourable member saw this article in the Toronto Star. Tory witness bolsters Liberals' case to clear Chris Bentley of wrongdoing. A progressive Conservative gambit appeared to backfire on the first day of witness testimony at the Legislative Committee. Former Federal Speaker Peter Milliken, who the Tories called to bolster their case, that then Energy Minister Chris Bentley was in contempt of the Legislature last year for withholding documents, torpedoed that argument. Quote, I don't know why there would have been a breach. I don't understand that. Milliken controlled the Justice
Thank
Committee.
you. New question. The Leader of the Third Party.
Here are my questions for the Premier.